Great to be with you. What a fantastic show we've had already this afternoon. It's been a pleasure to just sit here and enjoy the sights and the sounds. It's been a unique day celebrating Boro's past, but from now on, this afternoon is all about the future. Can Bryan Robson complete a magnificent start in football management by leading Boro into a new league as well as a new stadium? We've had a superb hors d'oeuvre. Now it's time for the main course. And what a fantastic reception. These supporters have been wound up all afternoon. They've been here an hour and a half, most of them, waiting to get their heroes onto the field. Great scenes and everything to play for. The manager's presence on the pitch is absolutely vital, of course. Robson's recurring calf problem has confined him to the dugout for the last 4 games, but his drive and inspirational qualities never more needed. In fact, it's a full-strength Boro side, with the exception of Robbie Mustoe, who's still out. Defence is back to normal, with skipper Nigel Pearson recovered from concussion, and Derek White back from suspension. Assistant manager Viv Anderson and Chris Morris stand down. Graham Kavanagh loses out to the manager. 2 strikers on the bench, Fuchs and Moreno. Attack, the name of the game. Well, after a stream of famous Boro old boys, one of their lesser-known ex-players, Dwight Marshall, will be looking to haunt them. The Luton striker had 3 games as a substitute when on loan from Plymouth in Boro's last Premiership season. Marshall hit a couple of goals when Luton handed out Boro's biggest defeat of the season, 5-1 at Kenilworth Road in October. They've been facing a goalkeeper crisis. Jürgen Sommer is suspended, and 18-year-old Kelvin Davis has been struggling with a stomach muscle injury, but manager David Pleat will be delighted the young keeper has pulled through. Mitchell Thomas is only a substitute. He's had a hamstring problem, so there's a recall for Richard Harvey, and at right back, Des Linton is preferred to David Green. Jan Arga Fjortoft, 2 goals in the last 2 games. The sort of player who relishes the spotlight. Scored as well for Norway on international duty against Luxembourg in midweek. He'll be raring to put on a show. Must be one of the youngest mascots there. Nigel Pearson, the skipper, has got. Referee today is Paul Vaines from Worley, taking charge at Ayresome Park for the first time and in his last weeks on the league list. He too delighted to be at this special occasion. Well, David Mills has come up alongside me in the commentary box. He's been playing spot the player down the years for us earlier. A fantastic day, but it all counts for nothing. The real stuff starts now, isn't it?
That's right. We've had part 1, this is part 2, and this is the most important issue. Quite rightly, all the older players have had the accolades, and the current squad of players have come out to tremendous reception here, and quite rightly so. I suppose it's at this time when you feel a little bit of sympathy for the likes of Robbie Mustoe and Curtis Fleming, who haven't figured in their celebrations so far this afternoon. But if Middlesbrough get the right result, then I'm sure the party will go on, and it is important.
So the scheduled last league game at Ayresome Park is underway, and Boro fans hoping so much they do not have to return here for the agony and perhaps the ecstasy of the playoffs. The destiny in their own hands. Win the last 2 games today and at Tranmere next Sunday, and they're up, they're champions. They've only won the Division 2, as it were, Championship 3 times, 27, 29, and that famous 74 team, which the man alongside me knows all about. And how they love to sign off from Ayresome Park with genuine silverware. Luton Town, according to their manager David Pleat, have gone to sleep since they reached 51 points, which he considered a safety margin. They're without an away win so far this year in the league, but they have won 7 and drawn 7 and lost 8, which is not a bad away record. They're 16th in the division, 13 points clear of the relegation cut-off, and that represents a comfortable position indeed for them. They'll be relaxed, they'll be looking to enjoy the occasion, and they'll be looking to spoil the party. For Boro, the start so important. Alan Miller, who's been a rock himself, lifting that one forward. Luton very much a team who can really play if you let them, and I'm sure Boro will be swarming all over the midfield to try and compress the game, keep Luton back in their place and really get a grip on this last league fixture after 92 years of football. Alan Moore, one of the youngsters out there today. Leonardo Fjortoft not bothering to chase that one, which the experienced Trevor Peake booted clear. The players will be so pleased to just get this game underway. But that's Gary Waddock being challenged there by Jamie Pollock illegally. There'll be plenty of that out there, one suspects.
Yes, it'll be very competitive, and that's only to be expected. There's a lot at stake, particularly for Middlesbrough, but Luton will come and play, and Middlesbrough might quite enjoy that. They always seem to prefer to play against a side that allows them to play as well. But as you quite rightly said, Robson and Pollock in particular will be biting in midfield.
One turned on first time by Scott Oakes, not with any great sense of direction. Scored that second goal that knocked Newcastle out of the cup last season, when David Pleat's team really showed what they can do on their day. As the saying goes, they just don't have enough days. Alan Miller was not in goal when Boro conceded 5 at Kenilworth Road. Peake ready to attack this one, and not particularly challenged there by Fjortoft. White or Moore. Quick challenge in from Paul Telfer. It's a Boro ball. Derek White, back after suspension with the throw-in. Cut out by Linton. Moore's picked it up though. Here's John Hendry. Square for Robson, who got a bit tangled up, and Waddock took the ball off him. Pollock. Vickers. Pearson for Cox. Pollock. Fjortoft having a bit of a wrestling match with Marvin Johnson. That'll be a physical scrap. And certainly Fjortoft enjoys backing into defenders and really letting them know he's around. Cox poised with the free kick. Fjortoft just pointing as to where he'd like it. Peake's picking him up at the moment. It's pulled out back, and Alan Moore has to check to try and keep it going. White made too much of that free kick, to be honest.
Well, I don't think it was intended, that's for sure. Bryan Robson was signalling to drop it into Fjortoft. There was space there, and I'm sure that Neil Cox pulled that one way behind where he intended it to go.
That's the sign of an understandable touch of nerves. They're looking to generate some pace and some zip pretty quickly, which is a style that Middlesbrough are more comfortable with. Pearson playing that one up towards our gantry. Pearson, who had concussion, missed 10 weeks in September through to November. The skipper back there today. It's Marshall. And that's Pollock hooking it forward. Hendry and Peake. Fjortoft just dropped off a little bit. That's a nice little touch. And a really great ball to Alan Moore. Just couldn't bring it down, but Fjortoft knew exactly what he wanted to do with that one. And he knew that Moore would give him an option. That was good thinking from Fjortoft. Moore couldn't quite capitalise.
Well, when he flicks it up here, it's a great left-footed volley across the field, spreading the play. Alan Moore takes it well, knocks it in front of him, just slips slightly then, probably just takes it to one side rather than straight ahead of him on his left-hand side. But I must admit, when Fjortoft first flicked it up, I thought, well, he'll just play a little simple ball into Robson here, and he unleashed that left-foot volley there, which certainly opened the play.
Not exactly a shrinking violet, Fjortoft. He likes to put on a show. Very self-possessed international footballer. Miller will get some real distance on this. The pitch, considering the wear it's had, is in excellent condition. Here's Hendry now, getting in a chase. Hendry's got away. Penalty, is it? No, referee waved play on. Mr. Baines looked as though he was checking across to the linesman. Boos from the crowd there. Definitely inside. I thought for a moment he might be checking to make sure the tackle was actually inside.
Well, Hendry gets through here from from the long kick. It's knocked down. Eventually Robson competes for it. It's knocked forward, and Henry, through sheer persistence, gets goal side. I thought he was looking for the tackle. I thought he could have gone on there, but it looked as though he got his heels clipped. The only thing against it was he didn't get too much of a reaction from the Middlesbrough players. The referee certainly wasn't going to give a penalty, and the linesman, he looked across to the linesman to get some advice and consideration, and the linesman just gave no indication whatsoever, so obviously the referee didn't give that. But I just felt that Henry may have taken that on himself. I think once you're in that position, you've got to go for goal.
Fjortoft again had Pete right there with him. That break from Scott Oates not really producing anything. Pete cuts it out. Helmsman David Rigg is really on the business on the pitch again, watering it quite heavily up to about 3/4 of an hour before kick-off. It's a surface he'd like to see recreated at the new Riverside Stadium. That was played in towards David Preece. He couldn't really take it in his run. David Preece, 31, longest serving player, approaching 400 first-team games for Luton Town and 10 years of service.
Well, I must admit, Roger, I've got a confession to make, because although I couldn't walk around with the players when they were introduced, I did actually have a sneak across the pitch when it was very quiet on my way up here into the gantry, and the pitch is in marvellous condition. It's flat, it's very wet, and the ball will zip around, and it's in super condition considering we're just about into April.
And Boro have got a free kick now. The manager standing over it alongside Jamie Pollock. Robson making sure that delivery for this one is as required. Pearson is up there as well. Robson just clipping it forward. Waddock got a boot to him. Good work, typical work by Pollock. Now Cox into the middle there, away by John Taylor, who'd come back to defend. Well, that one skipped through to Dwight Marshall. Now Marshall being challenged there all the way by White, and that is quite inspirational defending. Superbly read by White. Talk about determination to win that one. Dwight Marshall really proving Middlesbrough's undoing again. Heartbeats a little higher than normal, you think, out there, David?
Just a little bit, I think, yeah. A little bit of tension and anxiousness, but I mean, in fairness, that was an absolutely magnificent recovery from Derek White. I mean, super tackle.
But now it's Hendry. Hendry looking for the cross. Fjortoft is there, brings it down. Fjortoft into the middle. Oh, Pollock needed a touch, and it just ran on. And Preece can get it away. Fjortoft looking to lay the chance on a plate. Boro couldn't cash in. Fjortoft, though, causing problems. Robson turning into that one. That was Pollock. Mr. Vaines pulling that one back. Real chance, though, David.
Yeah, John Hendry crossing to the far post. Fjortoft doing well, controlling it well with the outside of his right foot, sensibly cutting the ball back. And then Pollock, I think, thought somebody was coming in behind him and decided to leave it when he might have been as well just having a flash at it.
There's Robson back again with that bit of cover. Blackmore, Hendry, lifting it forward to Fjortoft, just checking the bounce of that ball. Cox trying to get it over the back of Des Linton, which was asking a lot. 50-60 yard crossfield pass. Gary Waddock. Calmly played by Vickers. And White forward. There's a few steady defenders who've worn Boro shirts down the years sitting in the stands today. They would all have been applauding that little bit of defensive work by Derek White. Hendry didn't take the ball with him. Linton tidies up, looking for Telfer. Fjortoft again bringing it down and knocking it through very intelligently indeed for Alan Moore. Blackmore is in the middle as well. They've got a deflection and that's a corner. Fjortoft really thinking and really distributing the ball very imaginatively. Moore making his way to the centre. We have Blackmore, who's another corner kick specialist, and they're all forward. Fjortoft right in there, didn't reach Pearson. It was Luton Town's number 9, John Taylor, who knocked it away. Taylor right back there trying to get the goal side of Pearson. Looking for the near post knock-on. Blackmore again. He got it there, up the line. It was Robson's header. Robson so close to giving Boro the lead. Richard Harvey was the defender, along with Waddock on the line. Boro really going close there.
Well, the corner comes across here. Pearson gets the flick on and Robson attacking the ball. Has to make contact from a standing jump.
The Potts bursting through there. Just leave that replay maybe for a little later with Boro pouring forward now. This is Alan Moore. Moore can't get through two of them. Boro really getting up ahead of steam. Blackmore's corner kicks then proving a real threat to Luton. Middlesbrough settling rather more and starting to cause one or two problems. Vickers crowded out there. This is John Taylor. Taylor looking to have a go himself, perhaps. Vickers in with a challenge. Taylor trying to turn again. Did well to find Telfer. Marshall tries to turn. Again, excellent defending, this time by Pearson. White, Vickers. That's a defence that's really built up an understanding there. Forward now for Fjortoft. And Fjortoft again looking to release Moore, who was checked there by Linton. Moore really scrapping for it. Peak the defending, but here's Hendry. Hendry, and the keeper, young Kelvin Davis, stood his ground and blocked. Hendry nearly in there.
Well, they've had a couple of half chances, haven't they, Middlesbrough? Alan Moore doing well there, battling, forcing the defender into the back pass. Hendry onto it quickly. I thought Hendry might just have dropped the shoulder and taken it round him there, rather than playing it, trying to play past the keeper. He was very close to the keeper, but the keeper did well, stood his ground and made himself big.
That's offside. But Kelvin Davis, who was doubtful before this game, who's taken his chances in opposition to Jürgen Sommer, and doing the job there. Play stopped for a spot of treatment to Jamie Pollock in the middle. With Anderson, the man who runs the bench, as they say in basketball terms. The man who gives too much away. Rather like his defending style. Tommy Moreno, one of the substitutes today. Just have a look at that earlier incident. It's the penalty that never was. Let's have a look at it again with Hendry and central defender Marvin Johnson.
Well, Hendry gets clear here, and in fairness, the boy falls. Looking at that, it wasn't a penalty, I don't think, Roger. I think that John was looking for a penalty then and really should have been a little bit more positive. And once he'd felt the fella drop off his shoulder, should have been positive and aggressive and gone for goal.
Peak. Had 15 minutes, still no goals yet. Middlesbrough 0, Luton Town 0. Last league game at Ayresome Park. Boro started their time here with a defeat, looking to end it with a victory. Only lost 4 at home this season, Middlesbrough. Tranmere, Southend, Reading and Derby have come away with the points. Drawn the last 3 games 1-1, but comparatively they've kept their heads while others around have been losing theirs. And despite 3 points from 9, they've still maintained their position at the top of the table. Pearson lifting the free kick in. Fjortoft was really getting held there by Peak. Referee not interested, but didn't look too subtle to me, David.
Well, I think the problem the referee has got to decide when a player's actually backing in and leaning on a defender and when the defender's just standing his ground. And I think in fairness to the defender, he just stood his ground there and wasn't going to be budged at all and just competed for the ball. Fjortoft's got to be careful that he doesn't just keep laying into defenders and playing for fouls all the time.
From Peake's point of view then, I think it was the arms that were up. He was always liable to maybe sway a referee, but Fjortoft, as we said earlier, likes to back into defenders, he likes to rock and roll them a bit, and so too does John Hendry, which is good play. Nothing wrong with that if you're facing your own goal.
I think from Peake's point of view and the defender's point of view in general, if you put your arms out to the side, at least you're indicating that you're not pushing the attacking player in the back.
Robson looking for his 2nd goal for Boro and at Ayresome Park. Slight problem there to Bryan Robson. Scored a terrific goal live against Port Vale, you might remember, in the Tynes match.
You just get, sorry, Roger. I was just going to say, you just get a feeling that Middlesbrough might cause Luton problems from set pieces, corners in particular, when you look at the physical presence that they have around the side with Vickers and Pearson and Robson and Fjortoft.
Again, Fjortoft backing in, and this time he gets his free kick. It's Marvin Johnson who's penalised. This is a really useful position as well. Fjortoft may well work on the principle that the more you're in there challenging, you're going to get 1 or 2 go your way. And he really has looked a handful. Goal scoring speaks for itself. Robson is there, Blackmore is there, Cox, Moore will have a go. Moore looks as though he fancies it, or it could be Blackmore. Well held, Kelvin Davis. Blackmore drifting it in there, getting it on target, maybe not quite the punch that it might have needed to really fly past the keeper.
Well, it was well struck, cleanly struck, but it's got a curve on it, and it's going away from the goalkeeper all the time, and the goalkeeper's dived and caught that comfortably. It probably needed a little bit more whip and dip on it, and probably needed to start off a little bit more central.
Linton knocking it upfield towards Taylor, but Vickers was always going to make that one his. Predictably, the game will always have a nervous edge until we get a decisive goal, which would settle down Boro if they're the ones who take it. But if it's Luton who break and find a way through, then you can really expect the nerve ends to jangle. Hendry would have been caught well offside then had Pollock decided to release it. Fast to forge another striking partnership, this time with Fjortoft. Paul Wilkinson, of course, for so long his partner. Our guest in our studio here today. He's played with Fuchs as well. Now he's with Fjortoft. Peak. Each of his back passes have erred on the side of dodgy, I'd have thought. That's not through first time. Pearson. Very much of the safety first school of thought. Nigel Pearson. Richard Harvey there, doing an excursion forward. Taylor was the target they might have been looking for. Nod there from Hendry to Fjortoft. Blackmore did well to get a little header on that one and find Pollock. Too much pressure on Blackmore to kick out a man with the ball forward. Marshall there, looking for Taylor. Vickers tidily back for Miller. One touch to control it. One more to knock it wide. Cox just waiting and drawing the foul from David Priest.
Well, a little bit dangerous here. In fairness to Priest, he's made a genuine attempt to win the ball there. He's fouled Cox, but I mean, you're going to get that in situations like that. A little bit of determination. Tried to just get on the inside of the full-back and intercept the pass. Fortunately, the referee had a little bit of common sense there and didn't consider a yellow card.
Halfway through this first half, still no goals. Watching the Tyne-Tees match live. And Fjortoft caught offside there. Moore lifting it forward. Always a target there for the wide men, particularly Alan Moore, who likes to have someone to work off ahead of him. And Fjortoft looking as though he's always aware that Moore could be brought in. Marshall trying to get through there. Taylor had a fly at that one, but scuffed it rather. Signed on the transfer deadline day from Bradford for a couple of 100,000. Experienced striker. Hendry trying to get there again. Harvey. Just 18, Kelvin Davis from Bedford. Local lad. Vickers right there on Marshall. Taylor couldn't reach that one. Pearson just playing it wide for Cox. Looking around for where Priest might be. Again, you can sense they really want to make sure they don't make an unnecessary error by being a little too ambitious in their football. It's fine balance. Anderson and Robson in midweek stressing this is a game they really must not lose at any cost. Although everyone in the packed house here today willing them and expecting them to drive forward for the win. It's the defeat that would really be the body blow. Marshall. Another terrific challenge there from Nigel Pearson. He hadn't played for a year when he moved to Middlesbrough. Twice had broken his leg. Thought it might have been a gamble. It's been nothing like that. It's been a rock. And it's Luton who've got the corner kick now. Johnson is up there as well, wanting to get there to it. Good defending. And again, it was Pearson. Peak for Harvey. Harvey trying to clip it in first time. Linesman on the far side in a good position. Flag up. End of concern for this attack for Middlesbrough. Plenty of distance on that. Peak underneath it. Pollock forward. Moore, that one might have gone through to Hendry actually. Now it does, but he's offside. Holding quite a straight line at the back, Luton, David, which is all well and good, but it's there to be sprung if Hendry and Fjortoft can just get their timing right.
That's dead right. I think we've seen it on a couple of occasions already. Both Peake and Johnson have been caught on a couple of occasions, and it's encouraging for forward players and midfield players to get the ball in those areas.
But Moore's picked up this loose one. Pollock. Fjortoft in the middle, Pollock steaming through as normal. Even his determination couldn't get anything out of that move.
Good move from Middlesbrough. Good little ball, slid down the outside from Alan Moore. Pollock just allowing it to run inside him and then just can't get a contact on it. Just trying to poke it with the outside of his right foot, just in the wrong stride.
Injury in midfield, meanwhile, as to David Priest. Delay here for further treatment. Because there with John Taylor. Too much casual conversation by the looks of it. Shouldn't forget either, David, it's a warm old afternoon, and not used to that recently.
No,
last week I sat in an absolute monsoon at Sunderland, and now we've got brilliant sunshine shirt sleeves.
It's definitely cricket weather.
It's Boro really looking for a good score here. And it's Cox in possession. Forward for Hendry. Couldn't get the touch on it, he's pressurising still. Peak. Trevor Peak's a wily old character. He's a senior player out there, 38, and Hendry, a youngster at 31, prepared to give him a hard time. And that diligent running has at least produced a corner kick. Boro looking for the breakthrough again. Away by Linton. Same again for the Boro. Another corner then. Robson wanted to get there. The straight run to it was blocked by the defender. Scott Oakes is right back there. Got it back again. Robson clipping it through. Harvey away. Pearson tried to block it. Hendry competing for it. Cox can't get there. White, Mr. Dependable. Pollock scrapping. So too Harvey. Taylor and Pollock and Pearson now. Cox and Blackmore to Pollock. Forward for Fjortoft to chase Peak. And a good look at it and finds touch. FA Cup winner with Coventry, of course, back in 1987. A really experienced player, guiding hand for some young potential at Luton. Pollock. Blackmore, it's a disappointing ball forward, but I was just about to say there's a sense of getting on with the job now about Middlesbrough. They've gone through the game, and they're starting to get into it. David Pleat, you can just see up the top there, man who inspired Leicester to ruin Boro's automatic promotion when Pleat was manager at Leicester. Boro went down on the last day of the season, 2-1 at home, and had to go a long way round, successful as it turned out via the playoffs. So David Pleat has got a little bit of an Indian sign perhaps over Middlesbrough. He's a very experienced manager, and Luton certainly have approached this game in the way he would have wanted. Priest knocking it in there. Pollock watching it all the way into the head, and Moore's got a bit of space now. White steaming on the left, waiting to spring the offside trap. Robson trying to go all the way, appealing for the free kick, and they'll get it now. Peak in trouble. Moore brought down. It was nearly a terrific break.
Good run here from Alan Moore. Makes his mind up that he's going to be positive, he's going to be aggressive. Runs and runs, and then all of a sudden he ducks inside. Plays it between the two defenders, and Peak comes across and just takes him out across the front there. But I think that's what they have to do, particularly the likes of Alan Moore and John Hendry. They've got to isolate defenders, particularly players like Trevor Peak, who, as you quite rightly say, he's 38, he's not going to get any quicker. They've got to try and get a 1v1 situation, and as I say, isolate him and get at him.
Robson with a free kick in there. Vickers was moving in on it. Just to confirm, Peak, of course, was given the yellow card there. And a booking always something that can gnaw away at the back of a defender's mind, especially when there's been a fair bit of bumping and barging with Fjortoft in particular, who was alongside him there. And just something for him to think about, the Luton skipper. Pearson, a powerful jump there. Peak quite reading it as well, but still knocking it on a bit. Cox, Harvey, Pearson. Fjortoft and Peak there again. Fjortoft ready to bring it down whenever he can. Cut out by Robson, taken on by Moore. And Fjortoft squeezing it through to Alan Moore. Alan Moore on a break here. Hendry in the middle, trying to get it through to Robson, but Luton close ranks. You can just see when they get away that Alan Moore can cause real problems. But now the break is on. Forward now for Marshall, who's chasing it. Harvey down. Back for Waddock. Good break mounted now by Luton. Robson trying to get a foot in then and went flying. Paul Telfer has held it up a bit, and that's given Boro time to regroup. And the ball forward by Linton is of no great purpose for Luton Town.
They've just got to be careful that they don't lose concentration at the back, Middlesbrough. Marshall's just putting in behind the front player, behind Taylor, making these little runs into spaces, in behind people, and Middlesbrough have got to make sure that they track the runner. That's the only danger Luton have at the moment.
David Priest. And Richard Harvey. Good ball knocked forward. Forward there by Blackmore. Fjortoft. Fjortoft still going. Hendry wants it. Great ball out wide to Moore. Hendry and Fjortoft in the middle. Moore had a bit of a flyer at that one. Trying to bray the cross in perhaps. Now he's got another chance to deliver it better. Moore off for the corner kick. Pollock just leaving it out wide. Blackmore will go across there. Big men all coming back, and that includes the number 9, John Taylor, adding considerable height to the defence, which is not exactly giant-sized. Pearson, Vickers all up there. Blackmore's corner towards Pearson. He got a knock on there. Fjortoft to scrap forward the line again. And it was Robson in there once more. They've got a penalty. It's a penalty to Middlesbrough. Let's sort out what happened.
Well, the ball comes across again. Pearson gets the flick. Good header back by Fjortoft. The head's going. It's kicked off the line. It happened so quickly. It's headed back in again. I honestly didn't see the handball. It was very, very insignificant. In fact, I think everybody's missed it.
A little pat on the cheek there. I don't know whether that offence happened when Robson was in there challenging. I don't think so. It came out again. Real pressure, though, on Neil Cox with the penalty. Cox for 1-0. Good save! The follow-up, and Kelvin Davis denies Boro, and still they're looking for a breakthrough. The teenage keeper pulling out the stops. Cox, real disappointment.
Well, it's not the best strictly shot, is it? It's hit it, the keeper's read it well, made a good save, and they've lived again, Luton, haven't they? Managed to scramble a rebound away as well, but not the best of strikes. He'll be disappointed, Neil Cox, with that, I'm sure.
Well, Luton may be thinking that was poetic justice, but hits White now. White into the middle of Robson, and Robson put it wide now. He cannot believe it. Robson could have had a hat-trick. He's arrived so perfectly in typical style.
Well, this is Robson, isn't it? He picks his spot, just tries to side-foot it past the keeper. Unfortunately, he's just got underneath the ball. I think it's taken a little bobble there, in fairness. It is quite uneven there around that central position. Probably the worst areas on the pitch, but by Bryan's standards, you could see from his reaction that he was desperately annoyed that he hadn't took that one away. But again, a great opportunity.
Well, real drama developing here. Robson first denied on the line, then a questionable penalty, which Neil Cox sees saved, and Robson bursting through again and just pushing his effort wide of the post. And Boro will be thinking they've got to start taking these chances. Luton perhaps will be thinking the charmed life could be theirs. Anxiety, concern, over-trying, frustration, all mental attitudes that can undermine a team. But Boro are boiling at the moment, and really pouring in on Luton, but it just won't go in for them.
They've just got to make sure that they don't force the issue too much. They've got to be patient. There's plenty of time left. They haven't got to get it in their minds that it's going to be one of those days when things aren't going to go for them. They've just got to concentrate, keep playing the way they are, keep getting the ball in the box and attacking players.
Flags down, though, as Priest bursts through, and Miller forced to pull out the save. That's always the warning. The push forward, and think about the attacks, and then Luton, who can play their football, break and cause something.
Well, it's little Priest here making the run from the left-hand side, does well, strikes it well with his right foot, which isn't his best foot, thankfully, in that position. And Alan Miller there made a good save, although it was going to be a spectacular shot from that angle and that distance to beat Alan Miller.
There are appeals to the offside then. Corner taken short. Square for Harvey. Thought about blasting it, may still do. Plays it out wide again. Away solidly by Robson. Towards Taylor. Pearson there. Priest picks up the loose ball and keeps control and knocks it square for Telfer. Miller right behind that one. Good technique, down on his knees, the whole body behind it. Good fielding, cricket style. Bowled out as well to Clayton Blackmore. The run from Hendry. Fjortoft in the middle. Plenty of white shirts there though. Back for Pollock. Fjortoft wants it played in. Good first touch. Fjortoft the turn. And Davis didn't quite gather that so cleanly. But what a good take. And what a quick turning shot there from Jan-Åge Fjortoft.
Good ball in here, does well, controls it first time on the half turn, gets his shot in well here. I don't think he was aware that Alan Moore was supporting on that left-hand side in acres of space. He could have possibly, if he'd seen him, been able to turn that across with his left foot, but he elected to turn and shoot.
Vickers away. Pollock. Robson. Cut out there by the backside of Scott Oakes. Harvey will have to motor a bit for that one. Forward by Johnson. Vickers underneath it. Luton just having a spell of midfield possession themselves now after being right under the cosh. Maybe thinking, we've seen that off, we've lived on the edge and survived. Now let's just see what condition Borough's resolve, organisation and composure is in. Well, to be fair, the forwards for Luton have got very little change indeed out of a very determined Middlesbrough defence led by that man Nigel Pearson. Throw in to Middlesbrough, to Luton rather. Priest knocking it in. Quick return ball, not really good enough. And Cox gets the free kick. 5 minutes to go to half-time. Middlesbrough 0, Luton Town 0. Quite how, I'm not really sure. Robson, by his standards, may be thinking he should have had a hat-trick. And Neil Cox, of course, will be thinking he should have converted that penalty. And through it all, Viv Anderson keeps poker-faced. Not easily in the circumstances, I'm sure. Hendry, the touchdown. Fjortoft caught up then in and around Scott Oakes. Waddock, robbed by Pollock. Moore, in for Fjortoft, the first time ball again. Moore, and Moore wants to keep on running because Fjortoft is always looking for that first time layoff, always looking to bring other players in. Easily cut out then by Telfer. Still going now with Scott Oakes. Telfer had to check. Waddock. Blackmore got a foot in. White back for Vickers. Now Priest. Taylor making a movement ahead of him. Harvey now supporting from the left-back position. Turned in though. First touch needed to be a little bit better then. It's back for Harvey. Luton still coming forward. Priest looks up, puts it square, Oates looking for something out of the ordinary, settling though for a corner kick.
They're just looking a little bit ragged now, Middlesbrough. They've just lost the shape a little bit. They've just got to get the ball and knock the ball around a little bit and retain possession. They're giving it away a little bit too often at the moment, and that's giving Luton encouragement, and they're putting a few passes together. They've realised they've lived dangerously, they've had the benefits of a penalty save, and they realise that they're still in this game.
Corner kick then to Luton Town. Taylor the main target, Miller pushed it, flags up on the far side. See the linesman Colin Gordon coming on the pitch there and making sure he got a good position. Some news from the Hawthorns. West Brom have gone one up against Tranmere Rovers. Kevin Donovan, after 41 minutes, almost worth a goal here for Middlesbrough. If Tranmere are going to have a wobbly day, then Boro need to cash in even more. Again, it stresses the need to avoid defeat. At least the 1 point keeps the old scoreboard ticking over, just edges teams away, in the hope that Middlesbrough can leave them trailing. But remember, Bolton and Tranmere play again in midweek before it all comes down to next Sunday. It's conceivable, of course, that Middlesbrough can wrap it up in midweek without even playing, but we need the results to go in a particular combination. A win today would take Boro 5 points clear of Reading, 6 clear of Bolton, who have got 2 to play. Boro currently 4 points ahead of Tranmere. Overcomes this free kick. Pearson with a header on. Hendry prepared to run for it. Hendry into the middle. Again, Luton getting plenty of bodies in the way when it really matters. Hendry making some good diagonal runs. He's going to try and take defenders with him. Create some room for Fjortoft and the midfield players, especially Robson, who've been quick to arrive. Blackmore with a corner kick. Again, the ball bobbling around. Again, it's hacked away. Marshall that time. Blackmore knocks it in. Keeper stayed where he was. Away to Moore. Moore can hit it on the left foot. Moore into the middle. Robson sliding in. Corner kick. Alan Moore, when he drifts out wide and opens up space onto that left foot, can really hit them. Robson, though, was in the middle, and he's really pushed on and got into advanced positions today. Boro corner to the last minute of the first half. Only half away. Hendry was challenging. Pearson scrapping as well. Hendry opening up room. And it's a goal! Middlesbrough have taken the lead. Hendry's shot, and Ayresome Park erupts right on the stroke of half-time. And Boro, who've been pushing and pushing, have got the breakthrough. John Hendry.
Well, Hendry does well here. Ball comes out to him, he runs across the goal, and it takes a deflection. His shot here deflects off Marshall, I think it is, back there in a defensive position. Unfortunate for Luton, unfortunate for the goalkeeper, but a little bit of good fortune for Middlesbrough, which is probably no more than they deserve, because they've not had the best of luck in situations earlier. Looping shot there over the top of the goalkeeper. John Hendry will be delighted with that, I'm sure.
John Hendry with just 1 goal in the previous 14 starts. This is 16th of the season. Got a deflection, but I'm sure there's no doubt Hendry will go into the record books on this last day as getting the breakthrough. 1-0 the Boro. And here comes Alan Moore. And Fjortoft, oh, what a chance! Fjortoft could have buried that one. He can't believe it. And Luton in danger of falling off the edge of the earth.
Well, there's not a great deal you can say about this. Alan Moore does really well there, heads it down, it bounces up, and Fjortoft, 9 times out of 10, would put those away. Gets over the ball, great ball across beyond the defender at the far post. Alan Moore looks as though he might take it on his chest. He elects to head it back across the face of the goal. Fjortoft just can't get over the top of it and keep it down.
Half-time whistle has gone. Boro are in charge thanks to John Henry's goal just a minute before the whistle went. Got a deflection, and it comes at the end of a first half when Boro have threatened and threatened. Robson will feel he might have got a hat-trick himself. Cox missed a penalty, saved by young Kelvin Davis, but John Henry has put Boro one up here at Ayresome Park.
Welcome back to the Tyne-Tees match, and welcome back to a sun-drenched Ayresome Park. Everything is now going their way. The Boro have taken the lead against Luton, and the latest news we have from Tranmere is that they're getting beaten by West Brom by 1-0, and they're already down to 10 men. Tony Mowbray and Paul Wilkinson are with me. We needed a goal there just before break, and we got it.
Yes, you bet. We start thinking they've had so many chances, it's not going in, penalty was saved, we're thinking, is it going to be our day sort of thing, and I think you said just a minute before we could do with a goal, and John got the shot on, got the deflection, and in it went. It's giving the players a buzz and take the anxiety out with the support for the second half.
Well, Paul, we can take a look at the first incident, which was another John Henry incident, and this is when we thought he could have had a penalty, or should he? What do you reckon?
My first instinct, I thought it was a definite penalty, but having seen the replay, I think the guy actually catches him, and John wins the ball there and takes it on. And the lad falls over and actually catches him there with the. And then John falls maybe a bit too late to get a penalty.
Well, this is the penalty, Tony, and a bit of handball. We thought there were a couple of handballs in this.
Yeah, we were all up thinking the first one was a handball, but probably the second one was a bit more dodgy than the first, I think. But two incidents there, I mean, you give the penalty, I think.
You've taken a few penalties during the season. Were you surprised when Neil Cox actually stepped up to take it?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Clayton would probably take it, or Jan, but there again, Coxey wanted to take it, and whoever on the day wants to take it takes the ball. And so, you know, the keeper's made a good save in the end. And that, you know, everybody thought he was going to get the rebound. The lads made a good tackle again.
Really, that put everybody on the edge of the seat, Tony, didn't it? It thought that was there, thought the goal was at mercy, and then all of a sudden, you know.
Yeah. Well, as I said earlier, I thought it was going to be one of those days. You have all the chances, and they're not going in, and the longer it goes without a goal coming, the fans get anxious, and it transfers to the players on the park, and they become anxious, and you know, when you start thinking, Luton start knocking it about, and you start thinking, as I say, is it going to be our day? And that'll really settle everybody down.
What do you think we're in for now?
I think the lads have got to come out and be positive again. I mean, we showed them we were positive in the first half that we can get through the back four of Luton, and then, you know, we had enough chances to maybe win 2 or 3 games in that half. But as I say, you know, we've got to make sure that at the back we keep everything tight. The lads back four this year played exceptionally well, and I'm sure they're coming out for second half looking to keep a clean sheet.
Be sweet revenge as well, because you know, the Boro did get a turning over earlier in the season down at Kenilworth Road.
Yeah, that's right, and it's a strange result, because I mean, I'm watching today, very impressed with the back line. They keep a good line and they attack the ball well, and today they're looking very solid. So, as Wilco says, if they can keep that clean sheet, there's the points in the bag.
OK, we can take a look at the goal now that has put them in front at half-time. John Henry with the help of a little deflection, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, John does well here. The ball comes out to him and he takes a touch, just goes past the defender and shoots. And unfortunately, it's taken a wicked deflection off the lad, but I'm sure John will be claiming that one, and it was at least that we deserved, really.
And Robbo's had a good first half as well, Tony.
Yeah, we were talking about how he tackles, and he plays with so much passion, and it generates itself to everybody else on the park. When you see the manager getting about people like the way he does, it transmits to all the others, and there's Jamie alongside him who tackles very similar, and it's been a very good positive display. OK, thanks for the moment, fellas.
We're going to take a quick break now, but we've seen one great goal this afternoon. We're going to see some more now from over the years here at Ayresome Park. We'll see you again very soon.
Cochrane. Armstrong. That'll do.
Ripley through the middle for a change. There goes Ripley. Did he go all the way? Luke. Ripley checks. Oh, that is an absolutely marvellous goal from Stuart Ripley.
Armstrong there, so to is Mickey Burns. Armstrong dig it up for Burns. And what a high goal!
Ripley now. Can he deliver the cross that'll really cause the problems? Baird's the target, here comes Baird! Baird's off to a real flyer there, and it's lift off for the Boro.
Welcome back. Not long to go now until the second half. Middlesbrough 1, Luton 0 is the half-time score. Let's now go down to the pitch side and join Ian Payne.
Well, with me now, another former Ayresome Park favourite, now manager of Grimsby, Bryan Robson. Bryan, you've been enjoying the occasion and the first half.
Yes, it's been a very spectacular first half. Middlesbrough could have went in with 2 or 3 goals, but they've got to be very careful that don't get carried away with the occasion, because it can easily happen, especially, you know, the atmosphere is fantastic. But they've got to be very composed and keep their heads, and they've got a goal at a very critical time, and so they've gone in there with a little bit of lift that they needed for the second half. But they've got to remember also there's another team on the pitch, and they can cause an upset.
A lot to play for. Can you see Middlesbrough winning this league?
I can see Middlesbrough. I mean, it looks like teams are falling over themselves to give Middlesbrough, but they've still got to do it themselves, and there's no better start than today.
Thanks, Bryan. Enjoy the second half.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to enjoy the second half in our studio above Ayresome Park. The teams are coming out for the second half. Let's rejoin our commentary team of David Mills, and first, Roger Taines.
Thanks very much, Duncan. Luton out first. Boro now joining them. John Hendry getting that vital goal, courtesy of Dwight Marshall, ironically the player who did spend 3 games as a substitute while he was on loan in a Boro shirt. I'm sure that breakthrough just before half-time has made a major difference to the conversation in the Boro dressing room, because they'd certainly flung everything at Luton, not got the breakthrough, and Hendry worked for his little bit of fortune, got an opening, had a go, and Boro then kick off the second half with the advantage. And Boro no doubt will know that Tranmere are struggling down at the Hawthorns, and if ever there was an extra incentive to get out there and complete the job, that scoreline surely must have been it. And as we heard Brian Law say down for the touchline, perhaps the danger, David Mills, is that they get a little bit too carried away.
Well, I think they've got to remember that Luton will keep playing. They'll keep trying to pass the ball around. They'll try and get it up onto the front player, Taylor. Little Marshall will make these darting runs from just slightly deep of Taylor, and if they don't mark, then all of a sudden they could find themselves back on level terms.
Luton with that early free kick then, but that's really given away quite rashly by Scott Oates. Boro looking to push on now and really get a grip of this game. War through, and that nearly ran on for Hendry, but the cover was there from Richard Harvey, who filled in from the left-back position and got it away. Hendry just backed off him in the hope that it might go all the way through, and he created the space. But again, Alan Moore getting out wide and showing what a match winner he can be. Interesting during the week that Bryan Robson was saying that Alan Moore is ready for the call up to the higher international level. He's appearing for Republic of Ireland's under-21 squad. And if Boro get promotion and go up into the Premiership and Moore gets a better platform for his skills, that may not be too far away. Moore chasing it again. Davis with an easy ball to get forward. Knocked on there by Marshall. Header in there by Cox. Flag stayed down there as Robson played that one through. 1 win in the last 8 games for Luton Town. Lost the last 2 games by a 1-0 scoreline. And they're facing the same situation here at Ayresome Park. Scott Oates out wide to Telfer. They were looking for an offside appeal there, Middlesbrough. Cox, positive header away, only as far as Linton though. Good ball out wide this time, and they get it. So many of our teams play with that disciplined back line. David Fleet down into the dugout for this second half. One of the most knowledgeable and wily managers in the Football League, and the Premiership for that matter. No doubt he'll be trying to make sure that Luton keep going. He will certainly not hand Middlesbrough anything on a plate. Back forward again by Peak. Under it is Pearson. Fjortoft and Henry chasing it. The young keeper quite composed.
They really need to be ruthless, Middlesbrough, now. Not in a physical sense, but in a mental sense. They've got to make sure they keep the shape. They've got to make sure that they tighten down on people and that they really discourage Luton from this passing game that they like to play. They're 1-0 ahead. They're in the driving seat. They've now really got to kill off the opposition.
Just a little touch there. A bigger touch from Pearson. No flag that time, but Boro with time. Fancy dress is the order of the day, and he's in the Christmas spirit. One of 23,903. I can't believe there's two that look like that. Fox. Give composure in this Boro team. I just feel that they can complete the job. White denied there by the linesman's flag on the far side. White's had an outstanding season.
In fairness, I don't think it was against Derek White. I think it was Jan Fjortoft and John Henry who were both in offside positions. Because wanting it upfield, Hendry improvising, Moore just knocking into that space as he likes to do and then give it a chase. Fjortoft also giving it a chase. Fjortoft just a minute ago waving his arms around, encouraging players, fans. There is a definite touch of the showman about this player. He likes the big time, he wants the bigger stage of the Premiership. Competition for strikers' places, of course, here at Middlesbrough now. Uwe Fuchs and Jaime Moreno both on the bench today because a little shove there at Taylor, but not illegally. Played through for Telford a chase. White again, sure-footed. Miller neatly out for Robson. Back for White. Good, simple, effective football that. Hendry with the challenge, but Harvey can play it out wider. Waddock. Back for Johnson again. Sort of layoff that was. If you give Luton that midfield space, they do want to knock it around. David Pleat very much the disciple of careful, skillful football. And Middlesbrough, whose determined work rate in midfield has been a great feature of their play this season. Indeed, possibly go up a level still had they Robbie Mustoe still in the team. But they need to make sure they maintain that and stop Luton from getting any chance to play the ball around and really spoil Middlesbrough's big day out. What Fjortoft running back on with a chair. Fjortoft then shoved the photographer out the way, nicked his chair, and then ran on the pitch with it before throwing it back. What they've got to do is put a little bit more pressure on the player in possession of the ball, a little bit quicker, just to quicken the tempo up a little bit and not allow Luton the time to play and pass the ball around, because they can do that. They're encouraged to do that, and it's the way they enjoy playing.
Now it's with Blackmore. Just closed down there enough for it to fall for Priest. Pearson lifting it forward. Nigel Pearson. A recent fan survey outside the ground had Pearson as the Player of the Year. One or two more honours to be handed out this year. Pearson has certainly been a skipper in every sense in this season. put in there. 3 Boro players converging on Taylor. Mr. Vaines deciding that whatever the Robson protests may be, it's still a free kick. He's been a good protester, Bryan Robson. You've got to give him his due for that as well.
Undoubtedly, I don't think he was too happy with that decision. And in fairness, I agree with him. I thought, in fairness, it was honest competition for the ball.
Vickers competing for the ball there and winning it. Priest picking it up. It was Hendry who was chasing in. Hendry as well, working for the right to play. An old football philosophy. Very much kept alive by Middlesbrough. Fjortoft robbed there by Peak. Square from Waddock to Harvey. Again, you can see when Luton get a chance to knock it around, they can measure their passes and look very tidy. Neatly brought down. Marshall had a go. Nice stuff. A real poke in the final effort, though.
No, nice little touch. Shot from a fair distance there. That's not really going to trouble Alan Miller, but it's just the time and the space that they're getting now in advanced positions, Luton.
And it's Boro in an advanced position now with Hendry, crowded down by Trevor Peak. Hendry, a survivor of that 92 promotion team, of course. And Lenny Lawrence and his men wrapped it up now at Wolverhampton. Jimmy Pollock was there that day as well. And Steve Pears on the bench today was also a member. This is Robbo's team, and Robbo the man on the ball. Moore. By White. Away by Harvey. Waddock making himself available. Harvey getting the return. Blackmore threatening to challenge that on David Priest. It'll be a booking, I think. Priest was the victim. Blackmore into the book. Second player booked. Trevor Peak also got a yellow card in the first half. Vickers, finding himself facing in the wrong direction, had to get it away, and Moore getting through an increasing workload these days. Lifted in by Oakes. Vickers straight in there. Johnson given away to Fjortoft. It's a good ball chipped in there, but Hendry's got away. Still 2 defenders. John Hendry will have to go solo, and he pulled it across the face of the goal. Hendry, always prepared to run and have a go himself. He scored some spectacular solos on this ground. Not quite one that time, though.
No, he's taken it well, gone strongly there. He's taken it early, decided to shoot early from just outside the box. I thought he might have gone on a little bit further, particularly with a 1v1 against Peak, who, as I said earlier, hasn't really got that much pace, and you would back John Hendry to run him ragged, really, given the opportunity.
Moore ready to have a run as well. Good tackling there by Turpin, shove there from Linton, no foul, says Mr. Vaines. Marshall takes it, runs into Pollock. Advantage played. Foot out there from Pearson. Marshall still in this move. Cox will have to stretch and just nicked it away from Richard Harvey, who come forward. Cox evidently not believing that's a Luton Town ball on the corner kick. Boro need to really concentrate from these set pieces. Central defender Johnson is up there. Priest looking to knock it in. Away by Hendry. Moore has got most of the pitch to aim at, very little support. White has surged forward. Again, well-timed tackle from Peak. Robson. White. Barry Waddock. Priest. Harvey. Marshall. Cox. Not too many half measures in that challenge.
Fairly uncompromising, I think, that you would say.
Priest Knocking it in there to Taylor. Touch not what he was looking for. Robson and Hendry onto the loose ball. Hendry, posse of defenders there. Hendry still giving it a chase. The legs of Linton, looking for a bit of support. Not getting it. Still with Hendry. It was Blackmore who arrived, has to check, but they've still got this move going forwards. Fjord off the target, down to Robson! Robson trying it over the top of it, but again he appears in that crucial position. He's out of the midfield and he's just waiting for anything that's going to be half cleared or knocked back to him.
Well, the ball here just behind Fjordhoff. Fjordhoff just getting a touch. Bryan Robson coming onto it, just firing it with his right foot, just can't get over it again. Good pressure from the defender there, just forcing Robson to have to take that a little bit early on the up. Can't keep it down and it flashes over the bar.
JV Pollock, he'll still be running everywhere halfway through the summer, I think. Certainly his season's workload has been quite astonishing. Vickers. Cox. In fairness, Neil Cox has the composure and the experience, even though he's only 23, to put that penalty miss well behind him and get on with the rest of his day's work, and he's certainly done that. Hendry. Blackmore, a little touch. Fjordhoff still keeping possession and winning that throw in there. Hendry. Good challenge that from Richard Harvey. Peak. It's a little bit casual, that one for Linton. They've not really got this one under control yet, Luton. An hour into the game. It's 1-0, Middlesbrough leading through John Hendry. Robson got a foot there. Free kick to Luton. Marshall, got a few yards of room there. Marshall still having a run at the defence. Cox just getting a shoulder charge in there, just to make him think about really taking him on. Started in non-league football, Dwight Marshall, with Grays Athletic, and graduated the difficult way, 29, so a fair bit of football behind him. Header, Harvey forward, Cox was in there, Hendry again, Cox looking to push on, Johnson, good work there, Pearson. A bad bit of dainty control from the big man, but he just dwelt on it a little bit too long, and now Luton have got the ball back. Marshall trying to get round the back again, but there's Pearson. And Priest, I think, had a bit of a think about that challenge. Saw Pearson take off and launching himself at the ball. He said, that looks yours to me as well.
Well, once Nigel Pearson elected to do that, he was always going to be second favourite, Priest, wasn't he? And I think it was a question of discretion being the better.
I think it was going to be Pearson's ball.
Yeah.
Priest had got it. Marshall, touch off there for Oakes. In Pollock challenging. Marshall, though, looking a bit lively on the ball when he gets the chance of bringing that foul out of Bryan Robson. Now the free kick from an interesting position.
The problem they've got at the moment, Middlesbrough, is that they're playing five in midfield. Luton. Marshall's dropping off to make a midfield five with Telfer, Oates, Waddock and Priest, giving them an extra man in there. And Middlesbrough not sure whether to push anybody in from the back or not. And, of course, this little interchange of position and this fluency they have, Luton, from midfield is causing Middlesbrough problems.
few men square for anything touchdown, but it's lifted in towards Taylor. It's goal, equaliser. They're appealing the Boro players, but it's in from John Taylor. That's 1-1. Disaster for the Boro, but Luton caught them napping with the dead ball kick.
Well, the ball's clipped in. We couldn't see whether it was offside. He's got in between the two central defenders there. I mean, in fairness, that's poor marking. You can't really be looking to play offside in a set-piece situation like that. He's come across the front in between the two defenders and placed that ball into the far corner, but a lack of concentration and poor marking really more than anything else has cost Middlesbrough that goal.
So Middlesbrough now have it all to do again. That really has quietened down the celebrations here. John Taylor has got the equaliser then for Luton. Here's Taylor again. Pearson was there. Taylor getting a shot in, but no power on it. Taylor's third goal since he arrived from Bradford on the day of the transfer deadline. He's suffering from a migraine this week. He's certainly given Middlesbrough an almighty headache. Moore now, we're going to have a run. Hendry just closed ranks there. Championships have to be won, not normally presented to you. And we've got the injury down there. Middlesbrough know that the wider job they face is getting out there and taking it for themselves. Moore, who's down there, he rolls over just to confirm it. And treatment now to take place now. Now it's a real test for them, isn't it, David?
Very much so, yes. I mean, it's important now that they're just looking at that. He falls here, Alan Moore, good positive run, but he falls amongst a crowd of bodies, and I think he probably just knocked his head on somebody's knee or as he went down. Purely an accident. There was no intent in that situation whatsoever. Just one of those situations where he's maybe got a little bit of wind as well.
Moreno warming up. Two strikers there on the bench. Maybe an option that Bryan Robson has to take. Alan Moore is back in the land of the living. Bryan Robson just gesturing there to try and lift the players' spirits again. Knocked in again, dangerously towards White. Taylor's there, Robson's there as well. Pollock and Blackmore. Peak got to it first. Now Blackmore again. Cox. Johnson under it. And another injury. And it's Marvin Johnson who's down. That'll be a bit of treatment. David Pleat just asking them to keep it cool and enjoy the professional challenge of spoiling the party. Let's look at that incident again, David.
Yes, I think it's just a combination of challenges here between Pollock and Hendry, just the way he falls. I think he just falls awkwardly there under the challenge of John Hendry and Pollock.
Further news from the Hawthorns as play gets underway again here. West Bromwich Albion 2, Tranmere 0. Lee Ashcroft after 63 minutes. And really, Boro's chances to cash in are all ahead of them. But they've got to get that lead back. 1-1 here against Luton Town. Fjortoft flags up John Hendry. A lot of anxious people in this ground, and I'm sure one of them is the former Middlesbrough skipper Tony Mowbray. Well, Tony, they've got to really get back into their stride now, Middlesbrough.
Yes, Roger. They'll be looking for the real strong characters, I think, on the field. Looking at Nigel Pearson there, Bryan Robson. The need to get about the players and we need another surge, a big push. There's danger of the crowd getting behind them now, and that's what they need. They need to lift it again. It's got a bit flat for them. They need a big surge and see if they can get that second goal.
Thank you, Tony. Need a bit of the old Mowbray spirit, dare I say it. Although they've got one or two chips off the Mowbray block, as it were, out there in the Boro team. There's some hard and determined pros out there. But they've also got to keep cool. Further news from the Hawthorns, it's certainly all happening down there. In 68 minutes, John Aldridge pulled Tranmere back to 2-1, and a minute later, a second goal for Lee Ashurst makes it West Brom 3, Tranmere 1. 3 goals then in 6 minutes down at the Hawthorns. 2 of them for Lee Ashcroft, 1 for Aldridge. 3-1 West Brom leading Tranmere here at Ayresome Park on this last league match. 1-1 Boro Luton. Taylor, the man who got the equaliser, now in possession. And that one cut out, an important interception too by Steve Vickers. And as Tony Mowbray was just saying a minute or two ago, they need a lift, they need a pick-up, they need a bit of spark.
They do, that's right. I mean, the effort is there, it's just a little bit misguided at the moment. I don't think you can fault the team in terms of effort and commitment, but they're just allowing Luton to dictate the play now. As I say, they're playing 4 at the back and they're only pushing Taylor up front. They've got to have the mental courage now to maybe just push on and take the game. And as Tony Mowbray said, surge, but they've got to do it in a competitive and composed way.
Fox into Hendry. Fjortoft. Hendry through. Hendry. It's another excellent save from Kelvin Davis. And another chance that Middlesbrough don't convert. 18-year-old Davis standing his ground again. Well, John Hendry certainly got free then. Not the first one-on-one we've had, and Davis has certainly done his bit to make Boro go all the way if they want to win this First Division Championship. Moore. A little bit over-deliberate, if anything, Boro at the moment. A little bit of inhibition into the play now that wasn't there earlier. Robson, nothing inhibited about him, surely. Moore, he can win a game. Pollock, he's the sort of person they'll look to really push on. Pollock bursting through the men there, and White supporting as well, and still with White, and Hendry! Goal! Boro! John Hendry! Hendry's second, and Middlesbrough back in charge. John Hendry, who's done so much over the years, puts the smile back on the Middlesbrough supporters. And they can't stop celebrating down there.
Well, terrific positive run here from Pollock. He goes through, he's fouled there. The referee, in fairness, allows advantage. Derek White does terrific here, keeps his composure, cuts it back. John Hendry, one-touch control, and then just clips it into the corner. Full credit to Derek White here, who does brilliant. Controls it on the line, looks up, doesn't just smash it across the goal, picks out John Hendry, and John Hendry just passes it into the goal. But full credit to the referee in that situation as well, because he could quite easily have pulled Pollock up and given Middlesbrough a foul, but he allowed play to continue, and it's brought dividends.
And it's brought the score to Middlesbrough 2, Luton Town 1. And John Hendry has really done the business. Maybe that'll settle down Ayresome Park. News from the Hawthorns. Lee Ashcroft is having the game of his life. Meanwhile, here's Fjortoft first. Fjortoft, corner kick to complete the story. Lee Ashcroft has got a hat-trick for West Brom. A 71st minute penalty. It's now West Brom 4, Tranmere 1. Tranmere are falling. They started this game 4 points behind the Boro with a game in hand. And now it's Boro who are leading. And it's Tranmere who are struggling. Here's Henry, the man of the moment. Through for Robson. Davis is there again. Fox. Now Hendry again. Hendry into the middle, looking for Cox. Pollock. It's heading the wrong way, Jamie Pollock there for a moment. Peak. Crease. Well held Miller. Just when our keeper needs to be reliable. 16 clean sheets in 39 league games before today. Robson considering his own future in a playing sense this week. He'll be looking to bow out in his own career in the right way. Not just at Ayresome Park, but anywhere. Crease down for Harvey. Luton still looking to give it a go. Certainly the rest of the promotion hopefuls won't be able to point any fingers at Luton Town and say they didn't really do it for us, because they've certainly not let Middlesbrough walk all over them by a long way.
I don't think they can play any other way. I think they'll get a lift from the atmosphere and the crowd here this afternoon. Obviously not as much as Middlesbrough, but they'll enjoy playing in front of this sort of situation. David Pleat will want his side to perform well in front of the television cameras, so I can't see Luton letting things die until the end of the game.
Sorry, David Pleat there, getting quite involved in the atmosphere as well. Spoke to him last night, he was really looking forward to this occasion. Genuine love affair with football in David Pleat's case. And he'll want his team to acquit themselves in the right way, and he'll want to make Boro do their job all the way. Milestone for John Hendry and all the excitement. There's been a bit of debate as to whether he'd had 98 Boro goals before today or not, but with 2 in the bag, he certainly wrapped up his century in the most fitting style possible. Harry Waddock, Peak, Robson, Fjortoft, giving it a chase. Stumping that one upfield, though I'm sure Bryan Robson will want his team to keep playing their football. Wonder whether Middlesbrough might be thinking about making a change, or whether they'll think that it's going okay, let's just leave it as it is.
Well, I think he may possibly look maybe to involve Marino before the end. Certainly they've got to make sure that they don't get stretched.
Fjortoft having another party there with Trevor Peake. Got a good sideshow. Peake has really fought his way through this game. Alan Moore gets a touch first. Fjortoft turns sharply enough, shrugs off one challenge. Robson can't quite get there. Moore's down, struggling again. The first time he's been decked. Vickers, White. Alan Moore in a spot of trouble again. It's as though, even though it's Alan Moore who's down, substitution is going to be made by Luton Town. Scott Oakes is coming off. He's going to be replaced by Tony Thorpe. Another Luton youngster, just 21. And just pointing out how David Pleat wants Luton to reshape. Just look at the way Alan Moore got injured here.
Yes, he's just caught there, just slightly late by the full-back, just across the thigh. He's up on his feet now, he'll shake that off. The important thing is with things like that is to keep on the move, not let it stiffen up. If you start walking around, obviously the muscles start to tighten up a little bit. You've got to try and keep on the move, keep it loose.
Into the last 10 minutes now, still 2-1 to the Boro. On the edge a bit. White quite connecting as clean as he wanted. Fjortoft with a challenge. Waddock now has been busy in the midfield, keeping the passing going for Luton. Harvey, Cox could get to that one first. He did, but quite enough to control it. Just gave himself a little bit of a pull there, I think, in stretching. Crease. Tackle was from Blackmore. Consider here I've got a free transfer. Very astute bit of business by the player manager there as well. What a good blend of experience and youth.
That's right. I mean, he's gone for experienced defenders as well, hasn't he? He's brought Nigel Pearce in this season, and of course, in fairness, he's been a colossus for him this season. He's an old-fashioned type of centre-half. You know, he puts his head in there where it matters. When the bullets are flying, he's the one that you know, puts his head in with lost causes. And it's amazing what situations you actually retrieve in that situation.
Telfer, Pollock. Fjortoft, here goes Pollock through the middle. Pollock in on goal. Pollock and Davis there again. Moore wants it. Pollock still got it. And again, Boro open up the way to goal, but can't finish off the job. Pollock that time was looking for good night Luton. Hendry. Fjortoft hooking it back there for Clayton Blackmore. In again to Cox, who's pushed right forward. Cox pushing into a space. Moore is the only one really getting there. Fjortoft made up the ground. It's a corner. One of your duties today, of course, David, is choosing a man of the match, and very briefly, a few contenders.
Well, John Henry, obviously, for a couple of goals. Pollock has been very, very vigorous in midfield. And Fjortoft, obviously, has held things up very well indeed. So there's quite a number of contenders, not forgetting one or two good Luton performances as well, of course.
One or two steady hands at the back as well for the Boro, but the job by no means complete. Clayton Blackmore with the corner kick to Middlesbrough. Fired in. Davies didn't get it cleanly, but did that time. And the young 18-year-old, rated so highly by David Pleat. It's a pat there from Fjortoft. David Pleat took him to Italy recently when he was in charge of a young Football League team. Fjortoft still on his way back there. Davis again getting plenty of distance. White, Robson, White, Moore, looking for a whistle, looking for a flag, and maybe they were looking for the ball out of play, but the flag on the far side stopped the game. Harvey, still just one goal in it, always a narrow margin, especially when Priest breaks through like that. Just didn't quite have the legs to catch that one. David Priest at 31. Luton's longest serving player. Not quite as frisky over the last yard or two, certainly at the beginning of this game, which has been a hard affair, not to mention the previous 8 or 9 months of work. Somebody determined to get the best and final view of football at Ayresome Park. A little foolhardy. Let's hope there's nothing silly to mar the day. Ball again robbed there by Paul Telfer. Blackmore, charge down there, Hendry, offside flag, Hendry, Fjortoft again caught offside. How many times has he seen the flag go up during this long, hard season? And passive there from Mr. Colin Gordon from North Shields, the senior linesman. Doesn't have too far to travel today. Here's Marshall, Pearson. Atmosphere maybe a little bit too relaxed around it. Nigel Pearson making sure that doesn't spread out to the pitch. 3 or 4 minutes left, and as important 3 or 4 minutes as Boro have faced all season. It was a dead ball kick that proved their undoing earlier when Taylor struck. Kelvin Davies, the keeper's come right up for this one. Miller's pushed it. Davies, the keeper, had a go as well. Well, he's on some sort of a high today. He's been doing his stuff at the back. Now he's got to run back. And Hendry. I think if Alan Miller did that, then you'd find that Bryan Robson suddenly caught up the ground, dragged him off in the opposite direction. Fjortoft. Tony Thorpe. The crowd are planning their post-match celebrations, but there's 2 or 3 anxious minutes to get through. We've had a few stoppages. forward by Pearson. Well, the ball's out of play, David. Your man of the match, please.
Well, there's been a couple of great performances, but I've actually given it to Derek White. I think he's been inspirational this afternoon, both defensively and, of course, in laying on that second goal for John Henry, which is unusual to see Derek up there on the dead ball line in the opposition penalty area.
I remember early days of the first half, he made that quite sensational chase back and tackle, and that really set his stall out, Derek White, who started the season having to battle his way into the team, but has come in at left back and looked mightily assured. The world has collapsed on and around Tranmere Rovers this afternoon. Latest score from the Hawthorns. It's 5-1 to West Brom now. West Brom 5, Tranmere 1. Maybe they'll be relieved it's not on goal difference in this league if it gets a bit tight at the end. Bob Taylor getting the 5th goal there for West Bromwich Albion. 2-1 here, Boro lead. Now they could really wrap it up here. Fjortoft is in the middle. Hendry has to deliver. Fjortoft is just a bit too far, but Hendry, in fairness to him, had to bend it round the defender as well, and it was a fine angle to bisect. Fjortoft would have loved to have wrapped it all up there. It's drifted over Cox, that one, into the final minute, well into it. Boro need to hang on. Linton, Robson, good positioning, and so calm to play it out for Alan Moore. Moore. And now here's Hendry. Could it be a hat-trick for Hendry? Hendry! Fjortoft! Oh, he's put it wide! Fjortoft! Fjortoft could have had a couple himself today. And Hendry that time wanted to be the provider.
Well, a great ball there from Alan Moore to pick out Hendry. Hendry doing well, controls it, takes it on, and you fancy Hendry in that situation, but he isolates the defender, chips it across for Fjortoft, and all Fjortoft has to do really is hit the target. I only hope that it doesn't come down at the end of the season to goals for. I just hope that we aren't looking back today on all the chances Middlesbrough have had, and only the fact that they've taken 2 of them.
Boro will have gone 1 ahead of Bolton on goals scored, and 1 ahead as well of Tranmere, who scored 1 today, despite the 5 they've let in. They've got to get these 3 points first, that's what really matters. Here's Fjortoft. Fjortoft round his man. He's got too much angle on that header a moment or 2 ago, when he just needed to really make sure it reached the net. Moore through, flags down, Hendry, Fjortoft in the middle. Now can Hendry wrap it up? Hendry! And Davis again, he wanted to walk it in, and really, as David Mills has just said, it better not come down to goals scored, because this will be the day that Boro will have thrown away that chance, even though they've grabbed the points. Oh, what an incident-filled game it's been. We could have had hundreds of goals, really. So many chances in the first half, and there's been a string now.
Well, again, Alan Moore playing the ball through, Hendry timing his run, going clear. He has a look, Hendry, to see if there's anybody in support, and I just think that he's got to be a little bit more positive there. I just think he was a little bit too casual, and you wouldn't expect that, particularly if you're on 2 goals. You'd think you'd be hungry for that 3rd.
Robson, Pollock now has got the ball. Only 2 minutes of stoppage time. Well, Ayresome Park has seen 8 promotions and 8 relegations over the years, and the whistle's gone. Boro on their way by taking another major step to another promotion, perhaps. It's been the day that started by looking back, but has ended with the sights very firmly set on the future, thanks to John Hendry. Up the Boro is the message there, and thanks to 2 goals from John Hendry, Boro still heading in the right direction. Some of the supporters have come on the pitch in their exuberance. Pearson there, the skipper. Individual celebrations going around, and I think many of the crowd want the fans to go off so they can play their own tribute to the Middlesbrough players. The mood is certainly high Players getting cheered off the pitch. Robson there, right in the middle of it all. And he's asking them to go back, and I think he was quite prepared to acknowledge the applause of the crowd. But Robson's message this week has been, we will not be celebrating until we have something definite to celebrate. Robson playing the diplomat there in encouraging the players to get the fans off the pitch. On a day when everything has gone so right for them on the pitch, in an incident-filled game. It's a pity we've had one or two of these over-enthusiastic fans come on to celebrate, and I think everybody was looking for the set piece to end with a little bit more sense of theatre. Robson mobbed by the supporters who've really worshipped what he's done here, the lift he gave the club when he came here, and the influence he's had on the team. One Bryan Robson is the cry from the crowd. It's ended here 2-1 to Middlesbrough in this vital game. Let's go down and hear from the man himself, Bryan Robson, with Ian Payne.
Bryan Robson, congratulations, what a fantastic way to finish off here at Ayresome Park.
Yeah, delighted. It was a hot day, and the lads really put it in, and delighted with them.
A tremendous performance. It could have been 5-1. The reason I mentioned that scoreline is, you might be pleased to know that West Brom have beaten Tranmere by 5-1.
We like to make it hard for ourselves. Keeps everybody on their toes.
So really, it is down to yourselves now. Only yourselves and Bolton can win this championship.
We said it all the time. It was up to us. But we've still got a bit of work to do yet.
As you say, I don't know if you heard me there, Tranmere have lost 5-1 this afternoon, so it's all to play for.
That's all right, but this was the main result. The lads did their own business, and you know we need to do that next week as well.
It's been a tremendous atmosphere here all afternoon. What a send-off.
Cheers.
Okay, thanks, Brian. And John Hendry, the man who scored the 2 goals. Fantastic match for you.
Yeah, I mean, the crowd have come out in the force today, and it was a bit emotional. I mean, going to new ground and what have you. But this is the best atmosphere I've played in Ayresome Park. It was fantastic.
Fantastic final match here. The fans, I mean, what can you say about them?
Absolutely magnificent. Just look at them now. And hopefully we can get the point we need. It's not over yet. There's still a bit of work to be done.
But you're confident you'll be in the Premiership next season, John?
I'll tell you next Saturday, next Sunday.
Thanks very much, John.
Okay.
Well, you can see the players have come back to take the applause. They were very coy indeed about taking the salute without it all being wrapped up, but they've taken such an important step forward. The man of the match is Derek White, and you can see it being presented to him.
Derek White, congratulations. Man of the match this afternoon, presented by Bill Corcoran of Ainsley. Tremendous afternoon.
Yeah, tremendous. It's always going to be difficult for us. There's so much pressure on the boys to perform. I don't think they had much chances really. I thought we played very well. I'm just delighted I made a contribution for John's goal. So it's a great day for everybody here.
Thanks very much, Derek.
Yes.
Well, these supporters aren't going to let anybody go. They demanded this. They demanded the pitch be cleared. They demanded the players come and take the salute. It's not over by any means. It's going to go down to the rest of the games. Perhaps that last match, maybe the midweek games will settle it all. But it's a great scene here at Ayresome Park. The whole ground still full. A check on the final scoreline here as the players take a final salute in this final league game here at Ayresome Park. The scoreline was what it was really all about for Bryan Robson and his team. Middlesbrough 2, Luton Town 1, both goals for John Hendry. Boro taking the applause and nearly ready to celebrate. Let's go back to Duncan Wood.